The paired t-test for dependent samples checks whether the mean values of two dependent samples differ significantly from each other or not. Hello everyone, I am Komal Shekhawat and I hope you all are doing great. I create videos on how to do data analysis using various softwares like eView, SPSS, Stata and R. So if you are new to my channel, please hit the like button and don't forget to subscribe. So in this video, I'm going to explain the paired sample t-test. Okay, so this video is divided into three parts. So firstly, I will explain what is paired sample t-test. Secondly, I will explain how you can run the paired sample t-test using SPSS. And finally, how you can interpret the results of paired sample t-test obtained using SPSS software. So let's get started. The paired sample t-test is a statistical test used for dependent samples and it checks whether the mean values of two dependent samples differ significantly from each other or not. That is, it is usually used to compare the mean of pre and post situation, right? So let's have a look on some examples. So suppose you want to estimate the improvement in scores of the students before and after a lecture. In that case, you can use the paired sample t-test to estimate whether there is any improvement in the scores of the students or not. Let's take a look on another example. Suppose you want to estimate the effectiveness of a medication. So you will have to compare the pre and post situations of the patient. So in that case, you are required to run the paired sample t-test to compare the pre-level of the patient and post-level of the patient, right? Now, in case of paired sample t-test, the null hypothesis is that there is no significant difference between the samples. It means that the pre and post levels are same. There is no improvement or change. The alternative hypothesis, on the other hand, states that there is a significant difference between the samples. So as I discussed the example of scores, so alternative hypothesis states that the scores have changed after the lecture or the level or situation of the patient has changed after the medication, right? Now, the rule of thumb in case of paired sample t-test is that we reject the null hypothesis if the significance level is less than 5% level of significance. Okay, now let's have a look on how you can run the paired sample t-test in SPSS. Now open your software and you need to import your concerned file on which you want to run the paired sample t-test. So I have already imported my data file. If you want to know how you can import your data file in SPSS, I have already uploaded a video on the same. The link for that video is attached in the description box. So go through that video also. Now, so if I talk about my data set, I have two samples with total number of 30 observations and there is a pre-treatment and post-treatment, right? So the information indicates the temperature level of the patient before the treatment and the temperature level of the patients post-treatment. So this is the data view of the SPSS window and the next here is the variable view. So this indicates the information about the variables in your data. So I have two variables, pre-treatment and post-treatment. The type of the variable is numeric and now if you want to run the paired sample t-test, you need to go to the option Analyze and then select Compare Means. Afterwards, you need to select Paired Sample t-test. Now, my objective is to estimate whether the temperature level of the patients have changed after the medication or not. So I want to compare or create a pair of the pre-treatment sample and the post-treatment sample. So what you have to do is you need to drag this pre-treatment in variable 1 and post-treatment in the variable 2 column. Okay. So variable 1 is pre-treatment and variable 2 is post-treatment, right? Now in the options, you have this option for confidence interval. So usually the followed confidence interval is 95%, but in case we want to change the confidence interval to 90% or 99%, you can do so here, right? And you can continue with the same. Once everything is set, you need to click on OK. So the output window has obtained the result for you for the paired sample t-test. So you can see in the results, you have obtained three tables. The first table shows the paired sample statistics. So the first table is about the descriptive information about the two different samples. So we have a pre-treatment sample and a post-treatment sample. The mean of the pre-treatment sample is 100.73 and post-treatment is 99.233. Okay. And in both the samples, the total number of observation N is 30. The next is the standard deviation and the last column gives you the standard error mean. Okay, so this is about the first table. Now coming to the interpretation of the second table. So the second table gives you the correlation of the paired sample. The total number of observation is 30 and the correlation between pre-treatment and post-treatment is 0.421. So this value of correlation indicates whether there is high correlation, low correlation or moderate correlation between the two samples or whether the two samples are positively correlated or negatively correlated. So here the value is 0.421. It means both the samples are moderately correlated and they have a positive correlation with a significance value of 0.02, right? Now coming to the most important and the last part of the output, that is the paired samples test. Now the mean of the pre-treatment and post-treatment pair is 1.500, standard deviation is 1.65 and the third column gives you the value of standard error mean, right? The next is the lower bound and upper bound value of the 95% confidence interval. So the lower bound is 0.88 and the upper value of the confidence interval is 2.11. The t-value is 4.96 with 1 degree of freedom. And finally, the last column gives you the significance value. Now, you have to compare this significance value with the level of significance, which is 5% in my case. Or I have chosen the 5% level of significance. Okay. So, in the beginning of the video, I explained the rule of thumb is that if the significance value is less than 0.05, we reject the null hypothesis. That is, we are rejecting the no difference hypothesis. It means we are accepting the alternative hypothesis, which states that there is a significance difference between the pre-sample and post-sample. So, my data set was about the effectiveness of the medication pre and post. So, accepting the alternative hypothesis indicates that after the medication, the temperature level of the patient have gone down. It means that the medication was effective. The situation of the patient have improved after the medication since the significance value is less than 0.05 and we are rejecting the null hypothesis. So this is how you can interpret the results of the paired sample t-test and you can use this paired sample t-test in the situations where you want to compare two dependent samples or you want to estimate or you want to compare two different situations of dependent samples, right? So I hope you have liked this video. Thanks for watching. Have a great day.